Spotlight series with SMBConnect. Today we have Mr. Ankit Jaipuria from B2B Apparel manufacturing startup ZYOD. We welcome you, sir. Thank you for having us. So, I just want to start with, what was the inspiration behind ZYOD?
See, I think the inspiration behind ZYOD was first, it was an industry which was very close to me. I was born in a fashion family.
Right.
So from childhood, I had seen this industry.
Mm-hmm.
So fashion was running in my blood. Personally, I had never planned at that time that I would be working actively in the industry. And hence, I did my engineering in mechanical engineering. Then I was a management consultant. And then I realized that, as we say, roti kapda, makan kapda becoming one of the most evergreen industries for humanity, it needs to be revamped for the 21st century.
Right.
It's a digital age and we are still using archaic processes in the overall apparel supply chain. And that was something which got me excited that I have to do something about it. And especially post-COVID, there was a rise of agile fashion or fast fashion.
Right.
Shein became the biggest fashion company in the world, and the key crux was they were using smart manufacturing processes, using technology at different levels, and we wanted to give that enablement to all the brands of the world, and that's why we started ZYOD in January of 2023.
All right. So, after starting ZYOD, what was the ideation behind? How did you tap the market?
See, one good thing about fashion as a market was the market is already there.
Right.
It's $1 trillion market globally, and what we had to do was to identify what's the gap. And the gap primarily which we identified was that the companies or brands have been forced to provide fresher collections to the customers.
Right.
Gone is the age where customers are coming to the fashion brand store once in a month.
Mm-hmm.
Now they are coming every minute, every hour on their phones.
Right.
And that behavior change of the consumer resulted in putting pressure on brands to launch more styles fast.
Right.
And at the same time, they had to manage inventory losses,
Right.
which was one of the biggest problems because the supply chain was very rigid.
Right.
There were huge turnaround times. The minimum order quantities or MOQs were huge, and there was a lot of overproduction that was being done.
Right.
And these brands were facing the challenge of inventory, which was now more profound after, especially with the pressure of launching new styles.
Right.
And that was something that we wanted to solve for. Why not we create a supply chain which is agile enough,
Right.
which makes brand inventory less. And that's how we imagined how fashion ecosystem would evolve. And we had that solution in mind where we create a tech-enabled agile supply chain which makes the whole process of launching new styles faster without the risk of inventories.
Understood. It's a very innovative idea. So, what were the fastest turnaround time in your manufacturing industry? What's fastest time?
So, if you would see the incumbent supply chain, it usually works at a 180-day cycle or a 6-month cycle.
Right.
From designs to delivery.
Right.
So it was taking a huge amount of time from having started those or ideating those designs to bring it to the shelves at the store.
Mm-hmm.
We imagined why not do it in a month's time.
Right.
And that's how we sort of empowered brands to be more near the market trends rather than predicting 6 months in future. Why not predict and plan for a month?
Right.
And that's how we sort of improve the overall turnaround.
Okay, so do you find, are there certain challenges, to give all to fulfill all the orders in such a short period of time?
See, the industry that we are in is very heavily operations dependent, and there are challenges at every front.
Right.
And that is where the opportunity lies, where you are solving and using those challenges as an opportunity to grow. And the idea is what we have done in order to service in a better manner. We have used a very modularized methodology with respect to the SKUs or the styles.
Right.
So instead of doing everything from scratch again and again, which was the major gap in the industry where brands and manufacturers were working in silos.
Right.
Brands used to create some designs, manufacturers then used to understand those designs and then start executing it or operating it and manufacture it.
Right.
That created a lot of inefficiencies. What we did, we used a very modular approach where we created an ecosystem between the brands and manufacturers,
Right.
where we have the components of each and every design ready. And these components act as those modular pieces which we can pick and choose, mix and match, and deliver at the right time,
Right.
at the right quality, and with minimal inventory risk.
Understood. So, like, are we talking about we are talking about the challenges, right? So, do you feel like, the relationship with the operations team, because your business is highly dependent on the manufacturing team, right? So, the operations team. So, your relationship with the operations team plays a vital role in delivering the products and also the quality of the products?
See, there are two aspects to it. First, when you are trying to reimagine a very archaic, old school industry,
right,
it always comes with disbelief because there are multiple people in the ecosystem who have spent years and ages working in a certain kind of manner.
Right.
And what that results in, initially there is a lot of inhibition.
Right.
But fortunately, the whole market slowly has been moving towards this, and we were also one change makers or enabling agents towards the trend.
Right.
So that disbelief over the time has evolved into a belief amongst our suppliers, manufacturers, operations team, where they see that there is a value to it and they are very pro to take certain actions in order to achieve it.
Understood.
Secondly, with respect to the relations part, see, in every B2B business, it is very much dependent on relations because there are people who are involved in getting things executed.
Right.
But more than that, what as a company, anyone or at ZYOD we focus at is to make that relation as a starting point and build a very strong process around it so that eventually a very heavily people dependent industry becomes more process dependent.
Right.
And then you use those relations to further expand and scale.
We were talking about, standards, maintaining the quality. So what's the importance of maintaining high quality standards while keeping up with the industry standards?
See, the quality is an important criteria because see, what differentiates between a local non-branded apparel versus a branded apparel is the sense of comfort a consumer gets if they are going to a Levi's store. They will get a standard jeans which would work for or would be good for so and so years versus a non-branded apparel where it could probably work for a day or 6 months. It's a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
So brands are very conscious about the quality and every brand has its own quality parameters. Levi's, Louis Vuitton, Zara, all would have different quality parameters basis what they have standardized for their consumers. And as a manufacturing company, we need to ensure that we are creating those parameters in the supply chain, and that's what we have done. We have created a central quality team so that we enable the overall operations in a way where quality is a separate pillar which is tracked, and every brand is aligned with a certain quality parameter benchmark which is in line with their expectations of consumers. And that's how we sort of maintain quality, which is good for every brand. A Vishal Mega Mart versus a super dry t-shirt, both would be good quality as per their standards in the price points that they have.
Exactly. Right. So, do you think like the pricing mechanism plays a greater role in the kind of quality you are getting?
See, at the end, everyone wants good value for money, and that's why we are very much focused on design, because if you have a certain price point, you would have that price to play around with your raw materials, be it fabric, be it manufacturing, be it value added. Now, what differentiates between a good and a great design is, in the same price, does that $5 piece looks like a $10 piece.
Right.
That's where design comes into it, where you create designs which have a higher perceived value, which seems to have a higher ROI, but from a commercial point of view, they are cost effective. And that's what the key mantra in the whole industry is: create good perceived value products.
Right. So do you think like the industry in India is slightly different from the industries outside India? Because in India we think, हमने एक कपड़ा खरीद लिया है, चाहे वो महंगा ही है, तो let's keep it कि वो ज़्यादा टाइम तक चल सके. But I think in the fast fashion we think, we just buy something, we'll wear it for a month or so. Once it's out of fashion, we'll just go and buy something good, another same fashion thing. So do you think like Indian mindset is being changed, or is it like completely different from the mindset?
See, the markets that we have explored, there are two things. There are a lot of cultural values which reflects in fashion.
Right.
For example, Middle East, you would see a lot of brands have more modest wear with higher necks, longer sleeves. Europe uses a lot of deep necks with sheer fabrics.
Right.
Japan is very different with respect to having very loose clothes or loose attire. So every country has a different cultural mindset.
Right.
But what is also happening as we progress, there is a huge globalization trend which is more profound. The new generation, the Gen Zs, they are all connected.
Right.
And that differentiation is now getting narrower. Not just in the design attributes, but also the mindset. Having said that, India as a country has always been very value driven, where we historically have bought clothes to pass on to different generations.
Exactly, right.
But that is also slowly evolving. So what as a company we have to do, and not just in apparel, in any industry, we have to understand the market dynamics and then provide services. In our case, the services, the actual apparels, which are more in line with the customer and the whole country need. And that's how we have differentiated the different services or different products vis-a-vis different geographies.
Understood. So, what is the approach you are keeping up to keep up with the latest trends? Because fashion is changing day and night. How are you keeping up with those trends?
See, there are three aspects of how we sort of create the design engine that we have done. One is the overall market analysis. So we have built an in-house design team of over 40 members who basically are actually studying those runways, fashion walks. They are doing market visits to get what actually is on the floor in different parts of the world.
Right.
And have taken multiple trend forecasting softwares. The second is the overall brand profiling that we have done. We have now over 400, 500 brands whom we are servicing on a weekly basis. So we are getting insights directly from brand, what price points, what fabrics, what colors are being selected more. And finally, it's the whole iterative feedback loop where we have built our models, learning models, where we have broken down that subjective styles into objective attributes of colors, neck length, sleeve length, fabric types, and trying to build insights on which attribute combination is performing better.
Right.
And using these three pillars, we have created our design engine, which helps us to be at the trend.
The question is that how are you approaching brands, tapping brands? How are you approaching them? How are you asking them to, okay, please select ZYOD as your manufacturing partner?
See,
Obviously, I'm not asking for the deeper strategies, but what are the
no,
main
I think it's very
strategies?
simple. Everyone wants more designs at a faster rate
Yeah.
with leaner minimum order quantities, and we are giving all these three. So there is a lot of pull that we see from brands because people want the solution.
Right.
And so far it was not in the market.
Right.
Now we have identified the market gap and we are working towards it, and that is something which the brands have really liked, and they are very welcoming in order to try us and experience us, and that's how we were able to grow so fast in such a short period.
Right. So would you like to name some of the brands which were there from the beginning and are till there now?
See, the good thing is that we have been very fortunate that people have been loving our services, and there are almost no brands who have been lost since we have started. The only thing that has changed since we started and now, we started with a customer base of small D2C brands.
Right.
But post October last year, once we had established our base in the 10 months of operations, we started going into the deep enterprise established customers from the likes of Reliance, Next, Anthropology.
Right.
And now they are the major sort of contributors in the overall business. So that's how the overall market or customer profile has evolved.
Yeah. So just on your website, I was looking. It's called Design to Delivery. So how does technology is helping you in designing the product? And because you said that on the website it was mentioned that AI is designing most of your clothes. You can customize your designs using AI. So how is technology helping you in the growth of your brand?
See, in every step and every aspect, technology plays a very crucial role.
Right.
As I mentioned, we are using a very modularized approach towards design, where we have broken down that subjective styles into different objective attributes and hence components.
Right.
So all these components are being analyzed, where we are creating the design insights and design trends through building AI models, learning models on the attributes. And basis that, we create our overall design offering.
Right.
Suppose that on every aspect of operations as well, there is a analysis of which component requires which sort of time, where is the aggregation that could come in picture, which sort of optimizes your pricing, optimizes your turnaround time. So at every aspect of the overall supply chain, we are using our models to give insights, take action, and the journey that we see is moving this reactive industry to proactive, then predictive, and then automated.
We'll just talk a little bit about your funding journey. That how was the funding journey, and what
got belief from Lightspeed, who was the early partner in our seed round, and how we have evolved over time is, especially in the market where we say it's a funding winter.
Right.
There is no winter for companies who are performing well.
Exactly.
And that sort of gives confidence internally as well as externally that there is something promising in the company, which instills a lot of confidence across everyone associated with the company, be it the employees, be it the supply chain partners, be it the customer partners. And that is something which sort of helps the company grow and take a faster journey towards growth. And more importantly, what I feel that it creates an environment where people feel that there is huge scope in the apparel manufacturing business. There is huge scope in India to become the front runner in the global manufacturing supply chain, and that is where we want to play a part where we become that change agents to bring India at the forefront of manufacturing of apparels globally. And that is where we would take.
Very nice. So, do you think it puts pressure? If you get funding from certain people, do you get that pressure that now we have to like play smartly and have a very customer centric approach to be beneficial for the society? You get the funding, so do you think do you get the pressure to be more successful? Now you cannot take a step back and do not you have to get success at any cost.
See, I think the biggest pressure that keeps on mounting as you grow is first the families that are getting associated with ZYOD directly. So at this moment as well, there are 2,000 families who are connected with ZYOD, and that sort of creates that environment where the livelihood of 2,000 families and counting would sort of get directly affected if something does not work out.
Right.
And that is one sort of pressure. Secondly, I would say now, because we are one of the first movers in the overall supply chain, it also creates an added responsibility where we at ZYOD are building the narrative of Indian fashion ecosystem.
Right.
And that is a responsibility which is way beyond all of us.
Right.
Where we are one of those agents, players who would be driving how India would be perceived in the fashion manufacturing.
Okay.
And that responsibility, that could be a responsibility, that could be an opportunity, but definitely that is something which we are excited about and focused on, where, as I said, that ZYOD can be one agent to bring India at the forefront, at the global scale.
Right. So, just I would, to wrap it up, I would ask last two questions. It will be based on your entrepreneurial journey. As an entrepreneur in the fashion industry, what do you think are the challenges with the fashion manufacturing industry is facing these days?
See, I think the biggest challenge that the fashion ecosystem, especially in India from a manufacturing point of view, is facing, there is a very siloed approach in every manufacturer. So most of the business in India in manufacturing is run by SMEs. 90-95% plus of the whole market is fragmented.
Right.
And there is a gap in the collective approach where manufacturers can come together in an ecosystem and create those efficiencies and create those volumes which sort of creates a consistent demand, consistent supply. And that is something which sort of helps not just one or two companies grow, but the overall cluster grow.
Right.
And that is something that we are very focused upon, that we would have a very holistic cluster-based approach where we would try and empower the whole cluster, which means every factory, every manufacturing company, every fabric company, every company that is associated in that cluster, in the ecosystem, should get benefited as the cluster grows.
Right. So my last question, I want to wrap it up. The startup mindsets out there, the people who want to start their startup to become entrepreneurs, what will be your suggestion to them? Can you just how do they just start the journey?
I think we are fortunate to be in India at this point, because this is the decade for India. Right. It's a golden age. And the first advice is to just start. I think that's the biggest step, and the market that we are in, it has opportunities left, right, center.
Right.
So starting is the first thing, buys for action. And secondly, I think as you grow, the most important thing becomes how well you are building your team, because companies are not just made with one or two people.
Exactly.
It's made with a collective effort of many people following the same vision.
Exactly.
So that's the most important thing. Take care of how you build the team, and the team will build the company.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was so nice to have you. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us with SMB Connect. Thank you so much, Ankit.